日本時間10月9日、米番組、ファールテリトリーに、ドジャースのマックス・マンシー選手が出演しました。マンシー選手は、話題となっている、ナリーグ地区シリーズ第2戦で、チームを勝利に導いた、バントシフト、通称、ブルドッグについて。あれは、普通のウィールプレーとは違うんだ。と、その、プレーの真相について語りました。また、その後に、同僚の大谷翔平選手について語る場面も。ここからは、その様子を字幕付きでご紹介します。
Max, I think these guys are like itching to ask you about the wheel play from game 2. So, Kratz, I'm going to actually let you start. Why don't you start with your best wheel play question, and then Trevor, I'm sure we'll have one too.
I don't even have a question. Take us through exactly like each step of it, not like from the pitching change. When was it thought of? What was your thought going into that kind of meeting of the world champions on the mound?
Yeah, that was probably one of the coolest moments I've ever been involved of in my baseball career. And not even just talking about the play. It was more about how it came together. Castellanos hits the double. Kike makes a great throw at second. We're reviewing the slide. Maybe he came off, maybe he didn't. Obviously, we're on the field. We can't tell what's going on in the replay room. And, so while they're looking at the replay, Tommy and Mookie are talking to each other. And I kind of call them over. And I'm like, hey, they're going to bunt right here. We need to be ready. Let's figure out what we're going to do. And right away, Mookie was like, well, let's go wheel play. We talked about it about a month or two ago in a situation where we wanted to do it. And, we didn't end up doing it, and Mookie was just like, "Hey, let's go wheel play. Let's do the wheel play." Tommy, you got to get first. I'm gonna stay behind him. I'm gonna go to third, and Muncy, you crash. And we start talking about it, and we call Freddie over, and we're like, "Hey, here's what we're thinking." And we start talking about, well, second base is gonna be vacated. And immediately Freddie was just like, "I'm charging hard. As soon as the ball gets down to third base, I'm going straight to second base." And he's like, if it comes to first, Max, you got to get to second base. And immediately we were all just talking about that. And, it's just really cool. The replay comes back. He's safe. Doc comes out, make pitching change, bring in Vest. And, we went up to Doc and we're like, hey, here's what we're thinking. And Doc immediately was like, that's a great idea. I like where you guys are at. Let's go with this, and, we just sat there and discussed it the whole time. And, it was just really awesome to see like everyone come together and be like, here's what we're doing. Because it's a play that, in all honesty, we haven't practiced in probably 4 or 5 years. Whenever they got rid of the pitcher hitting, that's the last time that we had practiced a wheel play. Because nowadays, even if it's a true bunt, you don't run a wheel play. It's just make sure we get an out somewhere. And so for us to be able to discuss that in that moment, in that atmosphere, with the stakes as high as they were, the pressure where it was, like, to me, it's one of the coolest moments I've ever been involved of in my baseball career.
All right, now take us to actually the play. Because what people don't understand is you have to crash so hard to be able to get there in time to be able to stop and turn and make a perfect, 5-yard out route to Mookie Betts, who has Nick Castellanos bearing down on him.
Yeah, so for me, from my, what my job was, I'm putting my heels pretty much on the baseline. I need to be able, and I'm several feet in. I need to be able to see the runner at second. I need to be able to see the pitcher all at the same time. I got to make sure that, the runner at second is not just going to take off, because I'm vacating the bag early. And also it was a little tricky because it's not a traditional wheel play. And as you guys know, a traditional wheel play, the shortstop sets everything off, right? So the shortstop holds the guy close to second base. The pitcher's staring at him. He might give a couple fake jabs to second. And as soon as the shortstop takes off, that's when the pitcher is supposed to pick up his leg and throw to home plate. That's like a traditional wheel play. For us, the pitcher had no idea we were running the wheel play. He's just focused on making his pitch. We didn't really talk to the pitcher about it because, in all honesty, we're like, hey, just, stay out of the way. Me and Freddie got this. So we didn't even talk to him about what we were doing. So he's focused on making his pitch, which means that we're not going off the shortstop starting the play. So I have to be able to see I have to be able to see the pitcher at the same time as the second, the runner at second and the shortstop to make sure that everything's going properly. As soon as the pitcher picks up his leg, I have to sprint towards home without even knowing if he's squaring around a bunt or not. I just have to go and trust that he's going to bunt. And if he doesn't bunt, then we'll worry about that one later, and so, so for me, I wanted my heels pretty much on the baseline, on the grass, because that way I know I can get around any ball that's bunt, and that makes it an easier transition for me to get my body to third base. Because otherwise, if I'm running in and I have to field it off my right side and then find a way to turn, that's just not going to happen. It's going to take too long. He's going to be safe. So I need to be able to get around that ball regardless of where it's bunted at. And so that's why for me, I wanted my heels on the baseline, and then it's just trust the guy's going to bunt it and crash as hard as I can.
So firstly, the fact that you guys all gathered together and looked at each other are we about to do the wheel play? Is this the perfect time for the wheel play? Is awesome, because even the teams I was on that actually kept practicing the wheel play, you do it at once in spring, and then 6 months later you hope that it didn't come up in the playoffs. So that's sick. But secondly, there's a little bit of other context that I'm interested if it was part of the conversation as well, with the fact that Harrison Bader, was probably, I don't know if you guys knew he might have been coming up next to pinch hit, and the fact that Castellanos wasn't having a pinch hitter for him, there's not a ton of speed there. So the planets really did align that. Did that come into the conversation as well? We have Castellanos, he doesn't run really well. This might work really well in this situation.
Not necessarily. We knew they weren't going to pinch run for him because they didn't have any options at that point. We knew Bader's leg was bad. Obviously it was good enough for him to pinch hit, but we thought if they're going to do anything, they'd pinch it for one of the lefties against Vesia, and that's what they ended up doing. So the runner on second wasn't so much a part of the conversation as it was, Mook, you just have to make sure you beat him to the bag. And that's also where us knowing what we're doing, it gives Mookie the chance to get that head start. And, for the runner on second, he has to make sure he sees the ball down. The ball can't go up in the air. He's got to get that read. And, when I rewatched the overhead, Castellanos did everything right. He got a secondary. He saw the ball down. He didn't hesitate. He went immediately. It's just we ran everything to perfection. And, one of the things we were talking about was there's about 100 different ways that play could have went wrong. And realistically, only about 1 or 2 ways that it could have went right. And, the one way it went right was how it did for us. The other way is if he bunts it hard to Freddie, who's right there also. I mean, those are really the only 2 ways that it goes right. There's 100 different ways. I make a bad throw. I don't field it cleanly. If he goes to Freddie takes too long to get rid of it because he's got to turn his body. Mookie's doesn't get there in time. The throw's not just right there for him to tag. He misses the tag. There's 100 different ways that play could have went wrong, and it's kind of just a do or die situation for us. And we pulled it off.
Could you hear anything? Let's say Vesia, he bunts the ball to Vesia, and you never want the ball in the pitcher's hand. But I feel like Vesia is pretty athletic and absolutely skeeted out of his mind when he's out there. But could you guys hear anything?
When Vest gets on that rubber, he's pretty amped up, and it's awesome to watch him do his thing. He's probably the most high energy guy we have when he gets on the rubber, and it's fun when he's out there. But yeah, in that situation, it doesn't matter who the pitcher is. You don't want him fielding the ball. You want either the first baseman or third baseman fielding the ball. And, that's a little bit of the tricky thing when the pitcher doesn't know what we're doing. And you kind of saw that Vest actually went after the bunt. If you look at the overhead film of it, he went after the bunt, didn't know I was right there. And then when he saw me, he kind of freaked out and just dropped to the ground. And then after the play, it was like jailbreak. Everyone's running towards second base, even though Freddie was there. It was like, all right, we got to make sure we got someone there. Everyone's sprinting towards second base. We had Kike in left field running towards second. Vesia was running towards second. Mookie make the tag. He's running everyone's sprinting towards second base. Make sure we got someone there. It was kind of funny.
The question in Philly is, why is he bunting? What's the deal with that? Look at your lineup that you guys have. If you guys were in the exact same situation, who do you guys have bunting? And is there nobody that bunts in that situation?
I mean, that's the most no-brainer bunt situation I've ever seen. You have no outs, guy on second base, lefty-lefty matchup. And not just lefty matchup. You're talking about an extreme, with Vesia, an extreme fly ball strikeout pitcher. Like the ball doesn't get hit on the ground with Vesia. That's an extreme fly ball, strikeout pitcher. Like that's just an obvious bunt situation. And he laid down a great bunt. I just happened to be 5 feet away when he was doing it. And, if I'm not crashing when I crash, if I'm a split second late, he's safe at third. Like it was a great bunt, and that's 100% the right baseball play. There's no questioning that. If it's our lineup, I mean, I don't know. That's we have several guys that would definitely be able to get that job done. I don't know who Doc would ask to do it, but he's probably not asking any of the top 3 guys to do that. I'll say that. I don't think he's asking Shohei to lay down a bunt right there. But, if you're the first baseman crashing, you're probably hoping that Shohei's bunting. You probably don't want him swinging away. But, yeah, Ben, for us, he's been getting down bunts left and right. Miggy Rowe's been getting down bunts. Kike can get down a bunt with the best of them. In the playoffs, you kind of want Kike swinging away, but he could definitely get down the bunt. We have a lot of guys that would be able to get the bunt down.
Go ahead. You can ask that question. It's worth the ask, Kratz. I'll also just add. Go ahead.
Could Shohei get it down? Come on, say no, because he does everything so perfectly.
He sucked at bunting.
Well, I would assume he could, but at the same time, I don't know. I've never seen him, because he never hits BP on the field. He always does his stuff in the cage, and so I've never seen him, lay down BP. Your first round, you always lay down 2 or 3 bunts. It's just kind of, it's kind of just like tradition at that point. You just lay down a bunt before your BP round. Like even Freddie will lay down a bunt before his first BP round, and it's just, So I've never seen Show actually do it. I would assume he could. He's the best at everything, but I have no idea.
On the play in general, last thought, there are many coaches who coach youngsters out there who are like, thank you. It's going to be very valuable for me for years to come when kids complain. And I'm going to be like, oh, really? Let me show you a little video. So thank you from many coaches all across the globe. We got comments about that, so I'm sure you'll get plenty too. Max, I did want to ask you about Shohei, since we actually have seen him now pitch and hit in a postseason game for the first time. Last year was his postseason introduction. How cool was it to actually witness that kind of history in, the biggest stage of our game?
It was wild. And Freddie talked about this a little bit post game the other day, but you're talking about one of the best atmospheres in all of baseball, playoff baseball in Philadelphia. That's that's tops. It's unreal there. It's extremely loud. Like you feel it. They're so into the game there. They're you can't even hear yourself think. And for that to be Shohei's first pitching experience, and for him to come out of it the way he did, he had the one bad inning, but other than that, he kind of dominated, and it was just really cool to watch him do it. He loves pitching. I tell that to media guys all the time. Like he just absolutely loves pitching. He loves talking about pitching. He loves working on it. He works way more at pitching than he does hitting. And that's just how much he loves to pitch. Like he's all about it. And, he went out there and like I said, with the exception of the one inning, he really dominated, and he was so frustrated at himself for that one inning. And, he went out there and still gave us 6 innings with 9 or 10 punchies. And, that's an unbelievable postseason start. If you, for a starter in the postseason, and you've seen it so far this year when you watch the other games, for the starting pitcher to give you more than 4 innings, like I know they say a quality start 6 innings. In the postseason, a quality start's getting 4 innings out of your starter. And so for him to give us 6 innings like that, it was just unbelievable.
Ending a sentence talking about Shohei Ohtani, an unbelievable, super surprising.
The Dodgers offense is rolling, but the Philadelphia Phillies offense, specifically at the top of the order with those big 3, they've yet to really get some traction in this series. What are they saying about how they can turn things around?
Yeah, Robert, I spoke with Kevin Long yesterday, and I said it was at batting practice during the workout day, and I said, how do their swings look? And he said, actually, they look really good. Of course, everyone presses at times, he said, but their swings are taking good swings. And then he said, I think it's hard for people to understand, and he gave Blake Snell so much credit. And D-Row, you always say this, when Blake is cruising like that, he's unhittable. Yeah. He said, listen, some of these superstars in this postseason are being pitched impossibly. He said, a lot of guys broke into the league when the average, in case, and D-Row, you can attest to this, average fastball fastball velocity was, what, 92, 93. He said, I checked it, it's 97. And it's exploding. It's not like it's consecutive fastballs. You're seeing split and slider and curve and change. So you're seeing one fastball at 97 and then just a mix of misery. Robert, you always say, and my favorite thing you say is, you say, I don't know how these guys get a hit.
I don't either.
In the big leagues. And we're seeing it, right, in the postseason. So I was at workout yesterday, saw Trey Turner trying to time his swing by the cages. Everyone's working on rhythm and timing. But Blake Snell, it's more, game 2 is a credit to Snell. And Roki. They were just unhittable at times.
Shahad, I mean, obviously, first off, you're never taking days off. I know you're jet flying like Ric Flair back in the day. You're jet flying, limousine ride.
Limousine riding.
Limousine ride.
Kiss stealing son of a gun.
You're out there with, obviously have the heartbeat of everything. Have you talked to Dave Roberts? How are the Dodgers setting up their pitching for game 3?
So, Case, he is singing the praises of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He says he is as automatic as can be. And Yoshi said, I love the splitter. For me, it's the most reliable. So I asked Dave Roberts, I said, do you feel that same way yesterday? And he said, I actually do, because he said it protects the fastball, because guys see it out of the same hand in the same slot. He's been impressed with his curve, praises his command, how he nibbles. And I think we question when Dave doesn't put in his starters or Vesia or Roki. And Dave told me yesterday, he said, my goal is to play for the next 3 weeks. So I have to use my roster. I can't just put in Roki for 2 and starters to cover it. He said, you manage each team to their strengths, and we knew the bullpen was going to be an issue. He said, in a perfect world, if there was a world where I could use 5 pitchers and win the postseason, sign me up, but that's not this world. I won't get through October like that. So we knew their bullpen was going to be an issue. We're trying to, if it's possible, trying to use this roster when you can, Case.
Love that. And that's why Doc's one of the best. He is.
Yeah.
いかがでしたでしょうか。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーなどを中心に野球情報をお届けしています。この動画が良かったら高評価、チャンネル登録をよろしくお願いいたします。今回も最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。それではまた次の動画でお会いしましょう。